The broadcast of the regular meeting of the Board of Estimate and Taxation will now begin.
Good afternoon. My name is Carol Becker. Welcome to this live broadcast of our virtual meeting. This meeting includes a remote participation of members as authorized under Minnesota statutes 13D.021 due to the declared health pandemic. For the record, again, I'm Carol Becker. I am the president of the Board of Estimate and Taxation and will now call this meeting to order and ask the clerk to call the roll so we may verify the presence of a quorum.
Board Member Fry.
Here.
Cogill. Wheeler.
Present.
Bender.
Here.
Fletcher. President Becker.
Here.
There are 4 members present.
All right. So just so everybody knows, for all voting, we'll have roll call procedure since we are meeting remotely. Adoption of the agenda. Board members, the agenda for today's meeting is before us. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, could the clerk call the roll?
Board Member Fry.
Aye.
Cogill. Cogill. Wheeler.
Aye.
Bender.
Aye.
Fletcher. Fletcher. President Becker.
Aye.
There are 4 ayes.
All right. Next is the acceptance of the minutes from our previous meeting. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Mr. Fry, Ms.
Second.
Bender, do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, clerk call the roll, please.
Board Member Fry.
Aye.
Cogill. Cogill. Wheeler.
Aye.
Bender.
Aye.
Fletcher. Fletcher. Board Member Fletcher. President Becker.
Aye.
There are 4 ayes.
All right, then let's move on to discussion items. Item number 4 is the resolution reallocating $666,000 of excess bond proceeds among different municipal building commission projects. Who's here to speak to this item?
President Becker, I can speak to this issue.
Thank you.
So this is a project closeout for the Critical Power Capital Project. This project is completed in its entirety, and this resolution is summarizing the city's share of this project. The other half of this project is paid for by the Hennepin County. So this project is completed, and it has excess funds of bond proceeds of a little over $666,000, and it is being requested that those funds be allocated to the Life Safety Project and the Mechanical Systems Project, which are ongoing capital projects where the Building Commission goes around the City Hall and is improving spaces. When people vacate, they go in and do like sprinkler systems and HVAC upgrades and different improvements in the space. And this particular instance, these funds are going to help make expedited improvements in conjunction with the city moving to the public service center. And there's a lot of shifting of employees from different buildings throughout the city to City Hall, and from City Hall to the new Public Service Center, etc. So it's a fairly routine closeout of a completed project and allowing other projects to reuse those bond proceeds.
Mike, is there any reason that this project came in like a third under estimated costs?
Yeah, I got some information from the building commission, and the biggest thing is that they received really competitive bids for the work. So they were able to come in under budget. They did some value engineering as well that helped cut down those costs. And that was, they said they did not omit any parts of the project. The whole project that they wanted to complete was in fact completed. And just a really good project for bids and work and completion. And so they had some excess funds.
All right.
I'll
That's
make
great.
a motion to approve this resolution.
All right. I have a motion to adopt this resolution. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none, then clerk, could you call the roll on this resolution?
Board Member Frye,
Aye.
Cogill, Wheeler,
Aye.
Bender,
Aye.
Fletcher,
Aye.
President Becker.
Aye. We need to also make sure that Mr. Fletcher is recorded as being here, so.
Okay, thank you. There are
Thank you.
5 ayes.
All right. Item 5, summary report on the September bond sales.
President Becker, I will also give that report. I don't know how much detail you want me to get into here. I will just give you some highlights, and if there are further questions, I would be happy to entertain those as well. So on September 17th, the city issued 3 different series of bonds. The largest series of those was for our routine capital improvement program for the year. That was the $88,875,000 of bonds. And then there was another part of that same series was for refunding 4 different previously issued series of bonds of the city. And so in total, we received $103,680,000 and change, which included a $6.6 million bond premium, which, just for the record, when you receive a bond premium, that allows you to reduce the par amount of bonds sold. So we did that in this particular instance, which means when we go through some of these other details, we can kind of see how that impacts some of the refundings and how much we had to sell to refund the existing debt. But it was a good bond sale. Interest rates, the coupon interest rates were 2 to 3%. But with that bond premium, our effective rate of interest that we're paying is 0.8924%, so less than 1% for bonds that go out as long as 2030. So I thought it was a very good sale. We accomplished our objectives. And if you want, I can go through a little bit of the refunding information as well. So the first refunding item was actually the first 2 are special assessment bonds from 2012 and 2013. It's typical at the call date that the city would have some excess funds on hand from prepayments that come in over time. So we were able to contribute $260,000 of cash for the 2012 series and $735,000 to the 2013 series. And we saved $38,000 of interest on the first smaller series and about $534,000 on the second series. So nice savings. The second series is bigger and had longer maturities, and therefore allows you to save more on interest, obviously, But 13.9% of the interest saved is a very good amount of savings for a sale of bonds for a refunding. The next series is the park board had a project where when the bonds were sold for a parade, we actually moved the last maturity up. And so this particular refunding was restructuring that maturity back out. So typically interest rates go up as you go out on the interest rate curve to the later years. Back in 2012, when these bonds were issued, is it 12, I think, we moved up the maturity for the last maturity, $2.8 million to 12/1 of 2020, knowing full well that when we got here, we would restructure that maturity and push it back out. So this particular series of bonds doesn't have interest savings. It actually will cost the city more now, but we saved a lot of money in the earlier years of this particular bond series. The final one that's a refunding here is the 2012 library bonds. That was an $8.7 million worth of bonds that we're refunding. Again, because of receiving a premium, we only had to issue $8,435,000 of par, and we saved about $308,000 in interest on that particular series of bonds. So again, a very successful refunding of the library bonds. And just as an FYI for the group here, if the stars align and everything works as I hope to, we should be done paying for, the city should be done paying for the library bonds at the end of 2021. Ooh. So initially that was going to go out as late as 2032, and we're cutting off over a decade of time due to favorable interest rates versus the original forecast way back when, etc. So a very good result for the city. The second series of bonds is the general obligation parking assessment refunding bonds. These bonds are associated with the ramp as part of the Walker Arts Center. Again, we received a nice bond premium on this sale that generated an ability to reduce the amount of par by $830,000 and still give us the money to call those bonds out. The true interest rate on those is 0.955%. Again, a very competitive rate. And this one saved the city $621,000 or about 4.24%. And that's in addition to actually extending that debt by a couple years and giving some relief to the parking fund in the early years due to COVID-19 and the fact that folks aren't parking downtown as much as they had been. And so we were able to generate some interest savings as well as provide some improvements to the total debt structure for the parking fund and give a little relief in the first couple years to hopefully allow COVID to become a very bad memory for the city and the country. The third series of bonds is the Convention Center series. And in this particular case, the Convention Center was going to pay its final maturity on 12/1 of 2020 of $26 million. We could have done that. We did have the cash in the fund to do it. It's not that we had to refund these bonds, but the payment of that amount would have compromised the reserve balances in the fund. And at a time when we're having difficulty with hosting conventions and still having a lot of other competing needs for those sales tax dollars, it was felt that it would be best to refund these bonds and push that maturity out. So we actually went out to 2025 with this maturity, but we have the ability to prepay these bonds as early as 12/1/22. So in the current plan, we're showing about $6.5 million of principal in the next years from 22 through 25 to pay these off. And that's just for illustration purposes. If in fact COVID becomes under control and we get back to normal with convention center business, you know, I would believe it would be the city's intent likely to pay that off closer to 2022 or 3 than going out to 25. That particular series of bonds is highly sought after by the investing public. These are taxable bonds, which typically taxable bonds have higher interest rates than tax-exempt bonds. But in this case, having something of that magnitude, $26 million, taxable, not callable for a couple years, was very desirable by the market, and we got a very competitive rate with 0.6%. So even though it's unfortunate we had to do this or felt compelled to do this, the interest rate that we're paying on these bonds is very, very low. And in the meantime, we have preserved our capacity to run the convention center and its necessary operations and improvements as needed. So that's the summary I have. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Anyone have any questions? Does anyone have any questions? Nice job, Mike. I guess I gotta say, these are great numbers, great interest rates. This is really good work, and I just want to say thank you.
You're
And
welcome.
my second to that, Mike. Appreciate it a lot.
Thank you.
All right. Any other discussion on this? Any other discussion on this? Seeing none, then we can receive and file that report. And move on to item 6, the announcements. Does anyone have any announcements? All right. Hearing none, then do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do you have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All right, we're adjourned.
Thanks,
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate the work.
Thanks.